Hello and welcome to the version 1 Microsoft licensing update for the month of June 2023. I'm joined on the call by the usual suspects in the team here. How's everybody doing today?
Good,
Very
thanks,
well,
Carl.
Carl.
Great stuff. So looking at the product terms this month, quite a number of subtle and not so subtle changes. Looking at security first and all things security, Microsoft Defender, from what I've read, looks like there's a wide variety of changes in there this month. I know, William, you spent a bit of time looking at that, so maybe you can give us a quick rundown on what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. So bear with me on this one because it's quite intricate, but it's definitely worth talking about. So Microsoft Defender Experts is the first one. So that's now the new consolidated name for what was Defender Experts for Hunting and XDR. The interesting thing about this is now it's sold separately for the Microsoft 365 Defender subscriptions and is only available to enterprise agreement customers. No pricing details have been made public as of yet, but the strange thing is if customers are interested in purchasing, they have to complete a customer interest form and liaise directly with a Microsoft rep to be able to transact and obtain the SKU for this. So if it's relevant to customers, it's yet to be seen, but really Experts for Hunting, that was created for customers who have a robust security operations center, SOC, but actually want Microsoft to input into that and sort of proactively hunt threats using Microsoft Defender data, I presume, from across the whole customer range and the data that Microsoft has. The Experts for XDR, again, augments the SOC by combining automation, AI, and Microsoft's sort of security analyst expertise, helping customers detect and respond to those threats with confidence and improve their security posture, is the statement. So this includes hunter-trained AI. It's basically Microsoft Defender Experts sitting in the Microsoft data centers and the security centers, inputting all this data and all that sort of good stuff, and then providing that back to customers as a service. So customers can ask, if they have the service, 2 questions, or they have 2 credits per month, they can ask 2 questions to Microsoft. And then you get 90 days to actually use those if you don't use them in that 30 days. So that's the first one. Second one is Defender for Endpoint for servers. So again, this is only available to EA customers. And it seems like a bridge, or sort of bridging the gap. So it's a separate license for each operating system environment. So it's intended for on-prem. So the first step before migrating to Defender for cloud. So customers have to acquire this license on a per operating system basis. So that as a precursor, and then they'll get a credit towards Defender for cloud if they go down that route. So it's teasing people away from on-prem. And then the final one really is Defender for IoT. This is now just added as a standalone product entry. And as the statement says, it offers capabilities and threat intelligence to meet the unique IoT security needs of organizations across every industry. But there's no pricing available yet on that. And then the final, just to touch on, is they've added specific terms for the external attack surface management and Microsoft Defender threat intelligence, and they've renamed what was Microsoft Endpoint Manager Remote Help to Microsoft Intune Remote Help, which is the add-on service to remote diagnostics and support capabilities within Intune.
Pretty good. So quite a lot of
yeah,
moving of the goalposts, and some I guess you could say some niche offerings there applicable, as you said, like in many cases just enterprise agreement customers, which kind of limits the playing field for say companies who are acquiring through CSP or MPSA or whatnot. So that's interesting. So I don't think any conversation can take place these days without having some form of some form of an input around AI, artificial intelligence. So this month I took a look at the update to Microsoft's AI Builder. So that those of you who don't know, AI Builder is another component of the Microsoft Power Platform. If you haven't had a chance to, and you're looking to kind of get to grips on how you license Microsoft Power Platform and all the components within it, we've just published a series of licensing introductions to Power Platform. But sticking with the topic of AI Builder, again, like everything else in Power Platform, this is a technology that Microsoft have brought to market that's designed to empower business users, citizen developers is a kind of a core audience as to who this is targeted towards, and other types of users within an organization to allow them to leverage AI capabilities in their applications and workflows. I think looking at it, it feels like this is AI Builder is Microsoft's plan to democratize AI. And really how they're doing that is that they're enabling individuals in those categories that I just mentioned with limited coding experience to leverage the power of AI in their own business applications. So some really cool stuff. How it's licensed, so you'll probably notice when you look at your Microsoft licensing entitlement for SaaS services, SaaS products, you'll probably notice that in some cases you might already have some service credits for AI Builder, and that will usually be the case where you've licensed other components of the Power Platform or Microsoft Dynamics 365. But along with those license included credits, AI Builder works off a capacity-based licensing model. And as a consequence of that, there's what you call add-ons. So this month within the Microsoft product terms, we saw the introduction of an AI Builder minimum tiers table. And really what this means is, it outlines the number of licenses that you must have within each tier to attain that tier. So I'll put up what those tiers look like now in the slide. You can have a look at it and see. But in effect, in order to attain more preferential prices, you must acquire X number of license packs within that tier. And of course, those capacity add-ons, they include 1 million service credits per month. So some interesting insights there on AI Builder. I think it's probably worth looking at doing some form of blog or piece of content specifically around AI Builder and some of the licensing considerations around its products. So like, things like what are the licensing dependencies, for example, things like, users must hold a Power Apps or Power Automate subscriptions or license through Dynamics 365. So definitely one to watch. It'll be interesting to see as organizations start to get to grips with the business benefits and the commercial benefits, should I say, of using AI within their organization. Obviously, that's going to have a licensing impact. So it'd be good for organizations to get out early and get ahead of understanding what's the cost implication of this going to be. So Niamh, I think you had a chance to look at the Microsoft 365 update this month, and you want to maybe give us a quick rundown of what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. No, in one of the line kind of items within the Microsoft 365 update that kind of caught my eye was to do with Microsoft Managed Desktop, and it basically they said that they added, I think, a data handling section for Microsoft Managed Desktop. Now, look, I hadn't kind of heard of that before; it was unfamiliar to me. So it was just really interesting to see that it's essentially kind of, and it's only available through the Enterprise Agreement program as well. So only customers with an enterprise enrollment contract. And look, as far as like the Microsoft Managed Desktop MMD, it's basically Microsoft seeming to be getting into maybe like something like the managed service space, where they're kind of actively kind of managing the OS and kind of security and updates and so on the desktop. So it was just really interesting, like, and look, from the update itself, because you can imagine like they're using, Azure Active Directory and Intune and Defender for Endpoint and all the various kind of on desktop kind of online services. So this is just basically spelling out that, data and its transferability between like the MMD kind of integrated service and where that's governed by the product's terms applicable to the service in which it resides. So yeah, just interesting to see kind of how that one pans out. I thought it was kind of worth calling out and to see kind of what customers, would be kind of taking up this service. So definitely kind of one to watch. And then the other, item on the update this month, GitHub, because I know a couple of customers with GitHub, and again, the GitHub offerings are only available to enterprise enrollment, enterprise agreement program customers. So that's really grown. Like I was looking at, what they've done is this month they've updated the availability for new products, and there's definitely kind of new products in there. They added a definition called unique committer. So if you go into kind of the glossary and the terms, the definition for unique committer is in there, and it's all kind of dependent on if you take up this offering, then and you make a commit in the last 90 days to this, to advanced security, then you're a unique committer. So it's really interesting the way this whole kind of offering is going. But yeah, and also key to this too is a license prerequisites table. And essentially the main license prerequisite you can imagine is a GitHub Enterprise, user SLs. One there, all right, for kind of Azure DevOps. So I definitely advise any customers that are in, in the GitHub kind of space, and particularly GitHub Enterprise, and using kind of, look, customers in Enterprise and with GitHub Enterprise are obviously using their own kind of on-premise repositories, as well as maybe the cloud. So it is, they've really kind of expanded the offerings there, and I know a couple of customers are getting excited about GitHub and Copilot. So look, that's without getting into too much detail, and that it's one definitely I would recommend customers to have a look at. Thanks, Carl.
Great stuff. So Richard, last up on the list, I saw some smattering of updates just around Microsoft Azure. So maybe you want to talk us through what those updates look like.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I think similar to what you said earlier about AI being part of everything that it seems to be coming up now, it's important to also point out the changes that Microsoft have made here with regards to Microsoft Azure. So the terms, it says they updated AI terms for data access and use, and they've added Bing search service terms to the general service terms for Azure. Essentially, look, I would direct our customers with active interest in AI to read the associated terms attributed to OpenAI within Azure. They're quite interesting terms there to look at. One that caught my eye was the was the prohibition of using OpenAI for the purpose of reverse engineering. So this is quite important, and probably for a lot of our customers, it makes sense that they keep an eye on these updates. Another interesting update here was that Microsoft do not use submitted customer data to train, retrain, or improve OpenAI. So there's some form of security or data protection in place there as well. And they also kind of say that, look, that their OpenAI is getting data from a multiple of customers and multitude of sources. And what that might mean is that it might end up coming up with the same results as some customer data. So it might mean that if they were being sued by that customer, there would be no grounds because their OpenAI has information from a multitude of sources where it can actually draw the same conclusion as maybe some other customers already have with regards to their data. So I would say read the terms. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be able to set more of these terms straight. The other update was regarding Azure Data Box, Azure Stack Edge, and Azure Stack Hub ruggedized terms. So the term is, they add a clarity that physical transfer is included in the no transfer limitations for Azure Data Box, Azure Stack Edge, and Azure Stack Hub ruggedized. So I'll just read the term out to you because it's the same 3 lines repeated across those 3 products. So it says customer agrees to not sell, assign, or transfer, including location transfer between states or countries, the data box device, and will not directly or indirectly through a third party view, open, modify, disassemble, or otherwise tamper with the data box device. This was already there. This is just saying that physical transfer is now clearly included in the specified limitations, offering users a comprehensive understanding of data management options. Again, this is still around data protection, data management, and Microsoft's, I suppose, emphasis on making sure customers' data are kept intact.
Great stuff. Yeah, so some really interesting elements there, and no doubt they're going to impact on customers more and more, particularly as we see AI becoming more integrated into organizations in all that they do. So that wraps things up for this month's Microsoft licensing update from the team, the software asset management team here at version 1. As always, if you have any questions or queries off the back of the topics that we've presented today, don't hesitate to reach out to us, or if you have any other Microsoft licensing, or for that matter, any other software licensing queries related to other vendors, don't hesitate to contact us. So until next month, should I say, Microsoft licensing update, we'll see you then. Take care.
Thanks.